Welcome to my views and news. Some news stories for you. Firstly, top delegations are arriving in Mekelle, Tigray, the capital. Foreign diplomats, African unions, mediators, observers, all are arriving in Mekelle. What is going to happen in Mekelle today? And secondly, concerns are being shown by Wolkait interim authorities. Wolkait administrator a few hours ago said that government's policy about Wolkait, also called Western Tigray, was not clear. What did he say? Does it mean that Ethiopian government of PM Abiy is going to hand over Wolkait to Tigray? Firstly, viewers, 29th of December is today, is Thursday, and 2 days ago Ridwan Hussein said that by Thursday TPLF would surrender heavy weapons and ENDF would enter Mekelle. Before that, top delegations are arriving in Mekelle to monitor, to witness the implementation of key clauses of the peace deal. One of the key clauses of peace deal was that a joint monitoring and verification mechanism will be established, which will monitor all the implementation of all the clauses of the agreement, and that IGAD, African Union, and others would be members of this committee of observers. The committee members are arriving in Mekelle. Several have arrived so far. Firstly, IGAD Secretary General Workane Gabio has arrived in Mekelle. Secondly, Uhuru Kenyatta, former Kenyan president, one of the three mediators who monitored the entire peace process, has arrived in Mekelle. He was welcomed by Debretsion, Tigray's president himself, on Mekelle airport. Thirdly, foreign diplomats are also arriving in Mekelle. More than 30 foreign diplomats have arrived in Mekelle today so far, including some from EU, from Britain as well. Some Ethiopian officials are arriving in Mekelle too. Gideon Timotheus, Ethiopian Justice Minister, arrived in Mekelle again. He was part of the delegation which visited Tigray 2 days ago, when Speaker Tagaste Chafo led a top Ethiopian delegation which visited Mekelle 2 days ago. Gideon Timotheus was part of the delegation. He returned. Now he's back in Tigray with this delegation of foreign ambassadors. It means that from Thursday, African Union, IGAD's Committee of Observers, is going to start its work. International diplomatic community will also witness the implementation of the peace deal, and the key points of the implementation are Ethiopian National Defense Forces entry in Mekelle, Tigray's capital, and that TPLF will surrender heavy weapons and withdrawal of Eritrean military and Amhara forces from Tigray. It seems that some key development is going to happen in coming hours. That is why all these top officials are in Mekelle, Tigray's capital. Tigray People Liberation Front wants to ensure that it takes all the players on board before surrendering heavy weapons. It wants EU, US, African Union, IGAD to be there when it would hand over heavy weapons, so that these players could be guarantors. In case of violation of peace deal, TPLF would then seek the support of these monitors, these observers who are arriving in Mekelle, Tigray's capital. Question is, if Ethiopian government violated peace deal, if Eritrean government tried to sabotage the peace deal, what would these regional international players do? Would they stand for Tigray? Would they stand to protect this agreement? That is the question which is being asked by some Tigrayans too, who are opposing this deal. But the two sides have now trust between them, Tigray regional government, Ethiopian federal government. They trust each other now. We have seen that in recent days, there were some moves which led to building of trust between the two parties. So Tigray will have to trust Ethiopian federal government. Tigray has limited options. Tigray regional government, TPLF, they have limited options. They cannot continue war. They have seen that. They were suffering on military front. That is why they had to make this compromise. And now they're relying on assurances given by these players who are arriving in Mekelle today. We'll try to update you in coming hours about the activities of these top delegations which are arriving in Mekelle today. Secondly, verse 2, thorny issues are still unresolved between Tigray region and the Amhara region. Raya, southern Tigray, and Wolkait, Humera Sagade, western Tigray. Kibriob Simachio is Wolkait's administrator, interim administrator. And a few hours ago, he voiced his concerns about Ethiopian federal government's policy about Wolkait. He said that government's position on Wolkait was not clear, and that for the last 2 years, government did not allocate any funds for Wolkait. Infrastructure damaged, destroyed in Wolkait, people suffering, but government's position is not clear. So implicitly, some sections in the Amhara region are claiming that PM Abiy's government could hand over Raya, southern Tigray, and Wolkait, western Tigray, back to Tigray. That some understandings have been reached. Though we know that the agreements make it clear that political issues, border issues, they will be resolved through dialogue. And so far, dialogue is focused on other issues like surrendering of heavy weapons, like withdrawal of Eritrean military, Amhara forces from Tigray, like unrestricted humanitarian aid delivery to Tigray, restoration of basic services like banking, telecom, internet, etc. in Tigray. So far the two parties are focused on these issues. We don't know if the two parties have reached any understanding about Wolkait and Raya, but it is being claimed by some hardliners in the Amhara region that Wolkait could be back as the part of Tigray. Question is, if Wolkait is returned to Tigray, if it becomes part of Tigray again, what would happen? And how acceptable would be this solution to the people of the Amhara region, to Amhara political elite? Because several statements of top Amhara leaders are on record, like statement of Amhara regional president, statement of Amhara, statement of Ethiopian House of Federation speaker. They have been saying that Wolkait is Amhara. Wolkait is non-negotiable, and that Wolkait will remain part of the Amhara region. Ethiopian PM Abiy's government's position is not clear. It is trying to keep this grey area as a grey area, Wolkait, Raya, between Tigray and Amhara regions. I think Ethiopian government is in a position to dictate terms. If government has decided to hand over Raya and Wolkait to Tigray, it would be difficult for groups in the Amhara region to oppose this move. But so far, we don't have any solid information about government's plan about future status of Raya and Wolkait. Concern is being shown by Amhara region-based groups that Wolkait and Raya could be handed back to Tigray. Thank you for watching.